Welcome to the Culture Edit. Unique perspectives into the personal and professional lives of individuals at the helm of successful business, athletics, art, and design. Welcome to the Culture Edit, episode 36.
Wow, right off the bat.
Right off the dome.
Got it. We're in the studio waiting on a guest to show up.
Waiting on a guest.
This has never happened before.
Pre-recording, pre-guest, very exciting guest this week.
The new studio paint is still wet.
Oh, I thought you were about to say our new studio pedestal, like you had renamed the studio. I was about to be like, "What? Interesting." Okay.
No. Paint's still wet. Painting every weekend.
Yeah, I've inhaled enough paint to definitely damage some brain cells. So if I'm a little slow, you know why. But it's been a fun week of getting the studio ready. It's not finished. We still have a lot of renovations to do.
Yeah.
But at least the paint is up, and most of the
It's
furniture.
looking good.
Yeah, a lot of the furniture's here. But before we jump into our episode, want to say shout out again to all of the people at Zeal in Miami, the entire cycling community in Miami, because the reach.
Someone.
Yeah, it's someone. Really pumped up that episode because we're at over 30,000 or 35,000 streams across all platforms. So, Lizzie, Vic, Zeal crew, thanks for sharing that. That like week after week, the biggest difference we see with numbers, because people always say like, what performs better? It's completely based on the guest sharing. Like we can share to our network, but that's one network.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's based on, the guests sharing to their network, and then it just carries over, gets forwarded. So
this
we're really
one has really done that. Like we've never actually seen one like this.
Yeah, these numbers are pretty crazy.
And
so
it's been growing week after week. So that's the interesting thing.
Yeah, people keep listening. People keep tuning in. So, but
we are getting a lot of criticism for talking about Miami all the time.
So to remedy this problem, this obsession, Miami file that we have. Is we're bringing it back to ATL this week. We're talking all about Atlanta. Our guests are obviously from Atlanta. We're recording in Atlanta live in the studio, and it's going to be really fun.
Atlanta won the Super Bowl this week. There's another thing to think about.
Exactly. Atlanta won the Super Bowl. Usher and all of the other performers just like no one else thought about the Super Bowl. It was just about Usher.
So some are saying it's one of the greatest greatest performances at the
halftime. As long as I'm not a huge Super Bowl person, but I definitely tend to tune in for the halftime shows, and I would say I can't think of one that was better.
He got us with the roller skates.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from? Right. By the way, the thing that he said at the end was, "I brought the world to the A."
Yeah.
He was saying like all the attention.
Yeah. What did people think he was saying?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just.
Oh, you're just defining. You're breaking it down for us in case we didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. In case there's some folks out there. Well, some folks didn't even know he said that. Like,
oh, okay. Well,
I messaged Trainer and he didn't hear it the first time.
He didn't.
So, yeah.
Yeah, he kept saying at the end, like, "I brought the world to the A," over and over. But people probably didn't understand what the A meant if they didn't know he was from Usher. So minds could have wandered on that one.
Austin. Oops, as a chair.
That was
sorry.
Good.
So our guest today. We have two guests today.
Two friends, very near and dear to our heart because
we're going to talk about one of our favorite topics.
Wine. So everyone that loves wine, which I know there's a lot of you out there.
This is a wine-based
turn up that volume
conversation
right now and tune in.
We're about to get deep.
In wine. We have Master Somm. I don't know if she's a Master Somm.
I don't know if she's a Master Somm.
But I'm going to call her Master Somm.
Okay.
Because she is a Somm. I don't know the differences between the different levels, but she is a sommelier.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
French people correct me. And
Goose will weigh in.
So sommelier, Janeen, Jason will be joining us. And then VinoTeca owner. Proprietor.
Inventor.
Oh, I see them now. They're lost. They're looking for it.
Katie Rice.
They're going to be walking through the door any moment. It looks like they're texting me. I'm watching them. They're confused and they're looking around.
All right,
I'm going to start waving.
Okay, let's wrap this up so we can get
all right, on to the show. And we're back. So we got, cut off midway into our explanation of who our lovely guests are today because they were wandering aimlessly in the hallway. So we had to go find them.
Yeah, maybe this should be our process that we tried, to record the opening as they're coming here. So
yeah, it's kind of funny. I like it.
Yeah.
It keeps you on your toes. Keeps you like thinking spontaneously.
But we knew that we needed to provide a little bit more background on VinoTeca and why we're actually talking to Katie and Janeen on our podcast.
Yeah, so VinoTeca is not only special to us because it's our local neighborhood wine shop, but it's really been an amazing community that's been built since 2015, which is when they opened, which also happens to be when we got married. So we went on our honeymoon, we came back, and boom, there was a wine shop. It was the best present, the best wedding gift the neighborhood could have possibly given us.
That's true.
One year, our accountant actually asked us, what's VinoTeca? Is this some sort of, restaurant or some sort of trying to figure out what it was because it was one of our largest expenses. If that tells you how much time and money we spend.
Wow, thanks for sharing that with everyone.
Spending at VinoTeca, but no, in all seriousness, it used to be owned by Barteca Group, which owns Barcelona and many other restaurants.
Former client of
ours. And so we knew them well through that. And then there was a point at which Barteca spun off the wine shop because it was the only one in all of their restaurant groups. And Katie Rice decided to, step out and take a chance to run it herself along with an amazing team. She'll tell us more about that in the podcast. It's a very interesting story.
We talk about the business of wine. So this isn't going to be like a nerd wine, grape, varietal.
It's not going to be a lesson on like regions and types of grapes and that kind of stuff.
There's a million podcasts you can listen to on that.
Exactly. This is the business side of things. This is we know quite a bit about wine, but I definitely didn't know as much about the distribution process, which I find very interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. So we go through a lot of different topics around that, becoming a sommelier. We ask them some fun questions. This is turn on your explicit lyrics button. This is not for the children.
There's some cursing, but it's not terrible.
Yeah, and then the last thing I would say too is that we are in our new studio, but it's not built out, so it sounds a little echoey. And just give us a pass on some of the audio that you're going to hear.
So if you hear the clinking of glasses and the clanking of bottles, I can't blame
the thumping of the table.
I can't blame the studio for that. That was us drinking wine while recording.
Yeah, and normally there wouldn't be a thumping on the table, but you'll hear Katie reference that, but she couldn't control herself.
It's all good. Yeah. It's an entertaining episode, and if you're ever in the neighborhood, Inman Park, definitely stop by and have a glass or 3 of wine.
Oh, we should explain. I meant to say we didn't really explain the wine tasting. So they do a wine tasting is it Friday, Saturday,
Theirs
Sunday.
is Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And it's 3 wines. It's $15. Hefty pours.
Well, 15 it depends on the wine.
Hefty pours and a great story.
If they like you, if you're nice.
A great story attached to it. So that's why it's kind of the center of the neighborhood.
It's the most approachable wine shop, I think, in America.
Wow.
Just like the best cup of coffee, it's all subjective.
World's best.
World's best.
Congratulations.
All
right.
But enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Culture Edit.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Very nervous all of a sudden.
Why? Yeah, you shouldn't have said.
No, I think what it is, honestly, more than anything, is the slamming of my hands on the table.
Yeah,
I cannot.
Oh, she's very animated.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just told Katie she can't slam her hands.
She
so
gently
now.
put the ball on
the
table.
It'll be okay. It'll be okay. Even if you slam your hands down, I can try and cut it out.
Okay.
As long as you don't time it with like a word, like.
Okay.
I was saying last night how excited I am to have 2 people in here talking to us that hate dry January as much as I do.
Dry January.
Dry January.
I do. Top of the charts, actually.
I mean, it's the same way you treat guests who really just like sweet wine. Like you have to treat them with the same respect.
Yeah.
If you're not drinking, if you need non-alcoholic, that's great. If you like sugar in your wine, guess what? I got that too.
I'm more worried about the boredom aspect of us having to sit around and wait for February to happen.
Well.
Wait, so people come in asking for non-alcoholic wine?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know y'all had that.
It's almost like a thing that people want to jump into if they haven't before, and they read about the healthy aspects and all the articles that will come out and
for 1 month.
For 1 month, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Like the special articles, but then they want to try stuff. They want to try what's out. And I mean, I was damp January. I was thirsty curious.
Damn.
Thirsty curious.
I had a few events that I was like, I'm gonna drink here. But
a couple times we opened things too. She's like,
and that too.
Yeah.
I had a rule: if it's champagne, I'm gonna drink it. But everything else for I think maybe 2 weeks, I had no drinks. And I had a couple events, and then I was just like, oh, well, it's 28th, so
Close enough.
Close enough.
close enough.
For me, like, it really is, I cannot give up wine.
Do you have non-alcohol wine?
Yeah.
in the
That's what
shop?
they're saying, yeah. That's what people ask for.
Really?
Mostly sparkling and red.
Okay.
The whites have been kind of up and down for us. There is a good one we just tasted, but
So it's grape juice.
it's
it's denaturized wine.
dealcoholized wine.
Dealcoholized, yeah.
And they, in the case of some producers, they will do it naturally. So they'll use a centrifuge to whip out all the alcohol. And some people, they use a vacuum. I guess it's the same thing.
And then the traditional way used to be to cook it out. Then
Yeah,
you
I would
have-
say some people still
But
pasteurize.
then you have pasteurized. Like then you have bad. I mean, it's just cooked wine then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mulled wine.
But then people, what you notice about it, like when you're drinking wine, right? There's like a viscosity to the end of the wine, which is the alcohol, right?
Yeah.
That's the issue with it, is that when you have it and it's still, you're like, but it's missing something.
Yeah.
And
You can
it's
tell.
missing
The
the
body.
feel.
Yeah.
So that's why the sparklings are the best because
Yeah.
it masks that lack of texture.
Yeah.
I'm opening a bottle of wine. I've never felt more judged in my life.
What do you,
About why you're doing
Oh,
it.
I wasn't
how
even
you're
We
doing
paying-
it.
haven't
I wasn't
even
even
said
paying
anything.
attention.
Nobody's even looking
No one's
at
looking
you.
Y'all were
at
both
you.
watching me.
You're
I'm
not
sorry.
Talking about
That is in your head 100%.
very much
Well,
so.
tell us about this wine, the Joy Fantasy.
Joy Fantastic.
Oh.
It's from Central Coast. It's one of the wineries. They also make wine called Hollis Bollis. Son of a.
Now we're judging
Now
you.
we're judging you. Give it to Janine. She'll get it right out.
Yikes.
I broke the cork.
Wow. Rookie move.
Wow.
He's nervous.
I mean, it's old. That wine's old.
nervous.
Do you work at the Michelin restaurant?
No,
Are
I'm
you
trying to
even
get
a
out.
sommelier?
Find the thickest portion of what you broke, and then no, I want
Just
no.
let the
It's a
expert-
teaching.
Give it over.
It's a teaching moment.
Yeah. Okay.
He's like,
It's a teaching
sure.
moment.
He's like,
Gonna
sure,
push
sure,
it
sure,
back
no.
in.
Oh, this is okay. No, it's
broke it.
actually
I think it's a long cork is the problem.
it's just a very long cork. Yeah.
So wait, tell us about this wine.
So this is a Chardonnay from a little husband and wife team who do stuff in the Central Coast, and this is from Santa Rita Hills specifically. And I went out there last year. You guys need to plan a trip so I can push you towards some stuff. But we literally were going through. There's an area of called Los Olivos, which has like all the little tasting houses. It's like they have tons of tiny houses everywhere, and everyone has like the tasting room in there. And you go in and sit, and some people have like cheese and stuff, and some are just like wine, and they just have whatever open. And so we were leaving, or we were going to eat dinner, and we passed by this winery, and this house. And I was like, we have to stop in because it's one of my favorite wineries that we
So
can't get
you
in
already
Georgia
knew it.
anymore.
You already knew them.
Because
before.
the Hollis Bollis wines, they have an octopus on. They have a really cool label, and they're out of the market now. And then this, like Janine was saying, is from a single vineyard that they have called the Joy Fantastic.
That's cool.
How
really
does
cool.
something
Great
go
name.
out of a market?
Yeah.
I'm curious about that.
To be distributed in, I mean, it's different every single state, right? But Georgia you have to go through a distributor. And a lot of times people also have an importer, even though it's in the States. So it's not technically imported, but that's a good way to ship and kind of join forces with other wineries to get your stuff sent out. But it's expensive to register for the state. So you have to pay a certain amount of money to get your brand registered in the state. And then you have to have a distributor who sells enough of your product to make it worth the while to ship it, to register it, to all that stuff. And sometimes it just isn't. They only, I think the production on this is like 300 cases. You know, like it's,
the economics just don't.
Yeah,
make
yeah,
so
sense.
they
it's
just
really
keep it
tiny.
West Coast.
They
and-
just keep it West Coast.
Do you
yeah.
like how much is the to get in? Do you
It's
know?
like $25,000.
Wow. Okay.
Really?
So yeah,
Wow.
you got to sell a lot of
A
wine.
lot.
Yeah, that's
even-
even break even.
That's crazy.
Which is kind of sad because think about like that's keeping the smaller winemakers just at bay.
But,
So if you have
but a lot of times with that, sorry to interrupt. I think a lot of times with that too is that the distributors will help you pay for that.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
But then again, you have to get across the country. Like you're not going to ship. Say you're making 300 cases of wine, and to make it worth your while, you're going to have to ship at least 100,
Yeah.
60,
Yeah.
to make it worth anybody's while. So like that's why a lot of times those really small production things, it's a big deal that we have them.
I guess that's why like membership clubs are
Yeah.
such a big deal because then they just
So they don't have to pay any of that
if they're just shipping it to you quarterly or monthly or whatever, they're
They
not
used to not
paying.
be able to. Remember that? Like,
Yeah, I know.
it's in the last
I
10 years
Yeah.
they allowed those things to happen.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is that like once you're in a distributor in Georgia, say you lock into a certain distributor and they're not doing their job for you, you have to either pull out of the market, and I think it's a 7-year drought if you decide to break up with the distributor, or they have to release you.
7 years?
Yeah.
That's insane.
So if they don't release you, then you have to pull out of the market for 7 years, and you've already invested all that money to be here. And then secondly, or they can, or the distributor can decide that they'll release your agreement, and sometimes you have to pay them to do that, or they'll trade your brand
To a different
to a
distributor.
different distributor.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you've got, I'm thinking of who the hands are. So you've got the producer, then the importer possibly,
Yeah,
then a distributor,
yeah,
then the retailer.
yeah. And then you,
Or restaurant.
and then
yeah.
you,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
and then a person.
So the money out of the vineyard's pocket is really obviously the production and everything, but getting it to the distributor, getting in the shipping
pay-
and all that.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Shipping, you have to pay taxes. I mean, the most expensive part of winemaking is bottling, the bottles, the boxes,
Labels.
the
Yeah.
shipping, the
Colors.
labels, the corks, the wax. Actually, that's why a lot of people are going to wax. It's cheaper. The foils.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wax is cheaper. You
Yeah.
just do that.
Yeah, because you just dip it.
But the distributor is
dip
paying
turn,
for
yeah.
all the wine that they get.
Yeah.
So the producers is once it's gone, it's gone. They don't have to worry about whether it
But
gets sold.
what
or how
happens a lot
much.
of times is it's on. It's not like you go to a store and you buy something and you leave with it. With distributors, it's like a net 30 or net 60,
Yeah.
or sometimes even more. And a lot of distributors that it's happened here in Atlanta where the distributor closes, and then all of those wineries are just left without money. There was one in particular that closed, and this was years ago. This is pre-Barcelona days, where this distributor closed that some of our friends worked for. Bobby, Lisa worked for them. Lee McDaniel worked for them. And he left town. He just basically skipped town.
Wow.
He owed several $1 million to so many people
Wow.
because he just left.
What's he doing now?
Hopefully he's in jail.
No, he's back in the market. He's up in like the sticks selling wine.
Oh,
Wow. He's
I
like,
know.
no one knows me up here.
Well, people have started to figure out that he's up there. Like he'd stopped paying his staff and stuff too. Like
That's
it was bad.
crazy.
Yeah.
So not to get too nerdy on the business of it, but I'm very curious. Who is setting the price? Is it the producer initially is setting a price, and then that cascades, like then the distributor builds
Yeah.
on that?
Kind of.
Yeah.
If you look at something to remember is if you look at a winery's website of how much they charge for a bottle, it's very rarely in retail. It's very rarely less than you are going to find it in a retail store.
Yes.
So that's kind of how the market, I mean, I've had plenty of distributors say it to me before, this is below website costs. This is below, whatever. And that's kind of a good mark of what, you should expect to pay in a restaurant or in a retail setting, not a restaurant.
Okay. So it's coming to the distributor with kind of a set price, and the distributor's probably then selling it to you, saying, "Here's the suggested retail price."
They never say that, but they
don't.
have
some
yeah.
producers, yeah.
If there's things that we get at a lower price, they'll say, we'll sell it to you for here, but you have to sell it because that's their website price. So the
Like
producer
Scribes,
asks.
Scribes on their cab at $100,
Yeah.
then you need to sell it at $100.
The
at
producer
least.
asks for you to have it at the set price.
Okay.
Because that's how they make their money.
Yeah.
I mean, wineries make their money on clubs and visitations, and they don't make their money on selling out to distributors. They make their money through their websites and their self-distribution.
That's what's so interesting is about how much better the American vineyards are at that process than the
That's just
European.
logistics.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I think you're talking about the
Experience.
experience.
I'm talking about the
He's talking about like when you go out to
Oh.
it's very much like the Disney World of Wineland now
Yeah.
because
Of
course.
everyone spent tons of money making it a really great like experience and vibey.
Like
and
there's
all,
no
Because that's how
Heights-
they make their money.
But there's not like a Heights cellar experience in Europe, is
There
there?
probably is.
There is a little bit, but I
Yeah.
think that's more in like Bordeaux
maybe
and
champagne.
champagne. But here's the other thing too. They don't have to.
Yeah.
They've had those vineyards for hundreds of years in their family. Like why?
And
do
there's
they-
not all the middlemen, or there's not as
Well,
many.
There's
I
not
feel
as
like.
many, but their land's already paid for. Think about how much an acre of land is in Napa Valley.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
It's insane.
Exactly. Compared to someone who's owned their family's had their land for 6 generations or even 3 generations,
Yeah.
And the thing is too, is that sometimes in Europe, like especially in this table kind of reminds me of it. Like you have a vineyard, but Joe owns this one, Terry owns this one, Larry owns this one, and Daryl owns that one. You know, and it's a patchwork of puzzle. And you know, my winery sources from all of these producers, but these people have had those lands in their families for generations and generations, so they're not making millions of dollars off of them like they are in the U.S.
Yeah.
And also,
Oliver,
think about this too.
Yep.
How many stories? This is like something that we talk about a lot, and I'm like giant eye rolls about, of how many people are like, oh, I made my money in the tech business, and now I want to go own a winery. So I'm going to shell out $75 million to do it and lose most of that money, you know, in the process. Where in Europe, that's not a thing. There are people who are like, I was a race car driver, and my uncle was a winemaker, so I went to work for him, and then I learned it, and then I inherited it, you know?
Yeah. Or I invested some money into the experience portion of it because he's 100 years old and I'm bringing in this like fresh perspective.
So as far as like going to visit that stuff, it's not like we're here, we're all like wine. We're also, we have a different mentality with alcohol.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where we're just like, I want to like be
consume,
in it. Yeah. And there it's just like part of your life. So it's not so, you know, grab, money grab. And, you know, I have to have the experience. I have to.
It's more of a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah. Which I love.
When you go to a winery there, it's, you know, it's such a different experience. They don't have tasting rooms. You're tasting in their winery.
Yeah.
Spitting on the floor. You know what I mean? And like
champagne was interesting. Like I know we've told you all about that, but granted we went in the winter, so it wasn't like most weren't open because it's cold and nasty weather. But it was definitely rustic. Like all the places we went, which we
didn't go to Chandon. We didn't
go to the like typical. We went on a tour that was like the not the Grand Cru, but the Premier Cru.
Premier? Is that right? Premier? Okay.
And so, and they intentionally, they're like, we're taking you to the Premier Cruise that honestly should be Grand Cru, but that's all decided. They can't ever move up. They're not going to move down, whatever.
You know, I was talking to someone about this recently. Who was it? And they were talking about, it was somebody from Bordeaux. They were talking about how when Grand Cru and Premier Cru and all those things were designated all over France, let's explain what that means, because there might be a lot of listeners that don't understand.
That's a good question.
A lot of it was dictated originally by the price that the people who were farming on those lands were getting for the wines. So it wasn't necessarily, as quality, but because they were the best, but it also was branding.
Yeah.
So like specifically in Bordeaux, there were a lot of wineries that were just, you know, we can all think of brands here that, like the Miomis of the world, like those big brands that everybody knows. So everybody knows them. So they would have, even though they might not have been the best, they were still got more money for it because they were the most well known.
Yeah.
And that was in the 1800s.
Yeah. Thousands of years ago.
With Alsace,
hundreds of years ago.
Those wines were so popular then that all of these people were well known. So that's why not that their vineyards aren't amazing, and it's one of the spectacular places I've ever seen in the whole entire world, but like, and the soil is so special. It is so special there. But like still, a lot of it is they just were very popular.
Well, and what was crazy to me is they were explaining to us how it was basically just a board. Yeah. They said Champagne had gotten out of control, where there was just no regulations. Like everyone, mom and dad are making champagne over here, which is like complete crap. Maybe could kill you. Like the other person's making really high quality. So this board had to put rules in place and essentially
they like grade the wines in Champagne, like A, B, C, D. And like if you're over like C or D, you can't even sell your wines to anybody and call it Champagne. And then the A's and B's can ship out to other people.
But what's crazy to me, and maybe this is just like the American like thought process, is I'm like, but you can make it to the next level, right? Like if you make your champagne better, you can get to the next level. And they're like, no, once you're there, like whatever you're designated 100, 200 years ago, that's it. You can never get better. And I'm like,
that's what's crazy about Bordeaux.
It's disappointing.
Is like, there's so many, well, it was Manet that I was with, and it was this winery that when they were doing the decision-making on that, they're literally between 3 Grand Cru, like wineries that now sell their wine for thousands of dollars a bottle. They're right in the middle of it. But because their winery was actually located on the river, which they felt like was the worst property for their physical winery to be located, which would have been around since the 500s.
There you go. She's back.
Everyone. They didn't get the designation because it wasn't on the right, the gradient of the hill slope and the physical location of their winery was part of them not getting the proper designation. And they're literally like 3 wineries surround them.
The guy that was educating us was the grandson
the owner
and he's pretty down on the process, as you can imagine.
Well, because he, he's younger.
Yeah.
He like went away to
Yeah, he's, like,
university,
young guy.
came back. He's like really passionate, like trying to, just make the experience
I
better.
think the only people who really are that passionate about keeping it that way are the people who are making hundreds of dollars of a bottle.
The grand
of
crew.
wine.
The grand crew. They
Yeah.
don't want anyone else to.
Which are basically like sold before they're made. It's
like a
nuts.
giant manufacturing facility.
But then you look at other wineries that will not be named who make, a bottle of champagne that they sell for $300 a bottle, and they make 30 million bottles a year. Like, how is that?
Yeah.
How is that like
An authentic process.
Yeah. How can you say that that's
to me, that's like the Walmart version.
exactly.
So it's like and that's what we realized and shout out to Gardet, because that was.
Yeah. Do y'all know Gardet? I think we asked you.
I've honestly, I don't know that they sell it in America.
Gardet.
I've
Yeah,
never
they
seen it
don't.
anywhere.
sounds familiar.
Very
though.
familiar.
It was really good. We did like the whole different flights and everything. And this was the one where the grandson, or maybe it was like nephew, anyways, he's really trying to like bring more attention to it. And it was a very educational process.
Yeah, it was the best. He took us down in the cellars.
So we've like shipped a bunch of bottles back here. We need to email them and get more bottles.
Yeah.
Anyways, shout out to Gardet.
So I've got a non-wine business question that actually came to me last night, Janeen, while we were in VinoTeca. It was the couples weekend, right?
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day, which
that thing
is
that you
special
forgot.
to
The
us
thing you forgot about.
because we're no. I said Happy Valentine's. You said you
He's
wanted
like,
to pay.
every day is Valentine's Day. I'm like, yeah, I guess so.
And,
Hashtag less.
amazing stories that went with each bottle. And then I started thinking about, they're always amazing stories. And then I was like, it's 52 weeks in a year. It's 3 bottles a week. It's 156 stories. Are you making this shit up?
No, I would say 95% of the things I say are actually true.
Okay. I was going to say, if
about
you're
the
making it up,
5%?
then you need to
The
go to
other
Hollywood
5%
and write.
is just like I just say words that mumble like this so no one hears me. But after a while, like some wines don't have stories.
Where do you get the stories?
We are just
Have you heard of the internet?
we have
Oh.
the
Who
internet.
doesn't know the internets?
But it also like just not just the internet, but like if we have we do have very passionate reps from distributors that will tell us the stories because that's why they're excited about it. And so they know, there are some that just know when we get excited and they have the same excitement as we do. But that's kind of the number one thing that we look for when we're looking at wines for the store is there a story, price to quality, but besides all that, like, is it made by a woman? Is it organic? Is it small production? Those are all come into play. So I think now as we try wines and taste through, we kind of we know exactly when we like something or when it's a waste of our time.
So when they're bringing you wine, they know I need to tell Janeen the story behind this one.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Yeah, they know.
It's a
Like, come
first. You know,
Yeah.
we'll definitely let them know, like, hey, these are the tastings we have coming up. Here's a list of things, but we also may need some wine from here or there, and I don't know. I guess reps just know what to bring us now.
I think that's what makes VinoTeca so special as a wine shop. And it's, again, like just like the last episode we were talking about our friends that have the cafe / bike shop. It's not about the physical space. It's about the community that you're building. And it's the same with VinoTeca has built. If anyone who's listening has been to VinoTeca, you already know what we're talking about. But it's a community. It's a community of people who enjoy wine. But I think the reason people enjoy it so much is because the stories that you tell. Because anyone can go to any wine shop and just pick out a bottle of wine. You tell them the tasting notes, maybe what they could be smelling or what they could be tasting. And that's pretty much it. But it's the stories, I think, that make it feel more comfortable and not pretentious. So we were talking about it last night, how we don't have anxiety going into wine shops anymore. But there was definitely a time where I would have been like,
A lot of people do.
I can't.
totally.
We've done that.
Yes,
Yeah.
you made me a confident
Well,
wine
so let's go
taster.
back
Well,
to
no, I
the
was
beginning
just-
then. Was that intentional?
Yeah,
Katie?
yeah.
100%. Like education, when you can look at what I was sat down in front of the Inman Park board and told them why we wanted to make that happen. It had everything to do with education and trying to get people to feel comfortable. Honestly, that's why I don't dress up for work. And I swear to God, it's not because I'm lazy. It's like, I don't want people to walk in and me be like in a ball gown and be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
You know, and I also think like, I feel like I want people to walk in and feel comfortable. That's why we try really hard to never, people ask stupid questions all day long, right? We try really hard to make people feel comfortable with their question. Have an answer, even if the answer is "come on," you know what I mean? Like, no, we don't have we don't have blackberry wine. You know what I mean? Like, but here are the places that may be able to find it. You know, like, and never make people feel stupid. And that's all I ever want is for people to walk out of there knowing something. Maybe they learn that they don't like Grolio, you know, maybe, but whatever. Like, but I want them to be able to walk out of there and be like, okay, I actually got something out of this. When you were talking about community, I write that article for Atlanta in Town, and this month I wrote about community and how wine is a very community building thing. Like if it's the, you know, us sitting around having a bottle of wine together, or we do a bottle share with like the women in our the wine industry. Janeen does all kind of sommelier events like that. That fosters like a sense of community so easily. And you know, there's things lacking obviously in the wine business, and things that need to be done to bring more diversity, more LGBTQ plus people in the talk conversation. But like wine itself is such an easy way to do that, you know. And even like us talking about Sonoma or versus, you know, France, they already have that community. They sit down at a table and the first thing that comes out is wine, you know, and we're not necessarily built like that. But that being said too, is you do go to wine stores or wineries, I should say, and go to tastings and sit there and the people are like, okay, here's your wine. And then they leave and you're like, wait a second. Where's my story?
What just happened? Yeah.
So was it from the beginning when you were at Barcelona and you're like, I think this idea will work here.
Barcelona is a restaurant in our neighborhood for those that aren't from.
Right, which is where Katie was.
There. Yeah.
And you're like, I think this will work here. And so were you thinking about this could be a community spot?
Yeah. So what had happened was I was at my friend Adriana's house and we had drank a lot of wine and we were like drunk and we were sitting outside like smoking cigarettes and just drunk as hell. And we were having this conversation about like, if we were to ever, she was a wine rep and I worked at Barcelona, and it was like, what would be your thing that you'd want to do if you could just have something to, you know, like something else, if you like had money and you could do whatever. And so our conversation was to have a wine store that was part like educational space, part wine store.
Yeah.
We had that conversation, and her roommate at the time was the chef who worked at Barcelona. His name is Happy. And he called the owner of Barcelona and said, Katie's going to leave and open a wine store. I overheard them talking about it on the veranda last night.
Wow.
They were drunk as hell, but whatever. And then he called me at like 9 a.m. and I am hungover. Yeah. And when Andy Forsheimer calls you, you answer the phone. And he was like, what is this I hear you're going to leave me to open a wine store? I was like, what is he talking about? You know, like,
you're like, these
first
are
of all, how does he know?
hypotheticals.
Second of all, like, what is he talking about?
You're lucky that happened, or you would have forgot this would.
I know, right? I know. And so, like 3 years later, we went through the motion and, you know, went and traveled and looked at a bunch of wine spaces, and the rest is kind of history.
Was there a place that you were close to going into that wasn't VinoTeca?
We looked at Krog Street, where Hop City is. We looked at that space, and we looked at, do you know in Pont City Market the tap spot?
Yeah.
Oh, we looked at that spot too.
I am so glad you're in the spot that you are.
You missed with
we
that
wouldn't
one.
have sidewalk parties if you were in either of those spaces.
You went to today.
Why would you rather work in a wine store as a somm than a fancy restaurant?
It takes a lot, and so I love working and I love the joy of that speed. But when I found wine as a medium to kind of move out, I was like, oh, this is fun. So I would go to blind tastings with my coworkers who were studying for their sommelier tests, and I would just sit in on that, and that's kind of how I got the wine bug.
Yeah.
So I got certified as a sommelier in 2015. It took me 2 times to pass the test. I was working in Midtown at the time, no more than 6 months, and then I got certified and got the job at VinoTeca. Yeah, that's what it is.
That's cool.
How is the test like actually tasting wine, or is it?
It's 3 parts. So you can have, there's 2 avenues of getting certified. I went through the Court of Master Sommeliers for Americas. So There's an intro level where it's like a 2-day course. You sit and kind of do like a speed introduction to all the areas of making wine, and then you take a test the next day, but there's no tasting involved.
You do taste. It's just like more of a.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
It's not. You're not tested on
it.
It's kind of like a practice in front of people, so it makes people really nervous.
So they do like it's terrible. They do like this. Like imagine like rows of tables. I miss how mine was. Rows of tables, and they essentially go like, all right, you have sight, you have smell or nose, you have taste, and you have
the final
color,
conclusion.
whatever, and then you have final conclusion. And so like they go around the room, and for the next wine you'll do, it like moves over one, so everybody has to do it. And I mean, people just get like mortified.
So when you pass that, you take your certified exam, which does not have a course involved. You just show up 8:30. The first thing you do, I did was taste 2 wines. Now you taste 4, and then you do your theory exam. So after everyone's done with theory, you then do a service practice in front of other master sommeliers, which is very nerve-wracking. So they'll ask you to like open sparkling wine.
You'd fail, Chad.
Yeah. Open sparkling wine.
No, I can open sparkling.
Pour 6 glasses for my friends who are celebrating their birthday, but they also just got out of jail. And like any sort of situation.
Why does the jail change
So
the
the
birthday?
service
Any sort of I don't know. Any sort of situation they put in front of you.
But they'll give you a warm bottle of sparkling too.
Yeah.
Like they'll be like, oh, we need to get this chilled
I
down.
didn't realize
with
that. So
I
the
see.
service aspect
I didn't
of
know
it
that
is
either.
graded.
Yeah,
Like, that's a part
because
of
the
it.
Quarter Master Sommeliers focuses a lot on restaurants,
Yeah.
and so once you get into the advanced levels, there's a lot of like cost and restaurant and service situations involved. The other entity is the Wine and Spirits Education Trust, which is WSET. And that's mostly for anybody. Like anybody who enjoys wine and can understand it can take WSET. You don't have to work in a restaurant to do it. So they have 4 levels. One that includes like more of a diploma level where you have different courses that you take. The intro, again, is very introductory. Second level will involve a little bit of tasting, but there's no service involved.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of aspects of tasting wine that that you don't have to worry about with WSET that you do have to worry about with Quartermaster Somm. So a lot of people who work in restaurants or have other jobs will take that course. As I now work in retail, it's the route that I would probably want to take if I did take an advanced level, which I just don't have the time to do.
Yeah. So sommeliers, I've got a question, an inside industry question for you.
Very serious.
Sommeliers.
Don't tell anyone.
Sommelier.
That work in a
They
nice
get worse
restaurant.
every time.
I don't know. I should have just said. I should just roll with
Just
the first
stop while
one.
you're ahead.
Spell it. I'm just kidding.
No, you got it.
Working in a nice restaurant, when they go straight to the most expensive bottle, is that the restaurant telling them to do that, or is that their ego, or do they just think it's funny?
I think it's
This is a sensitive subject.
I think there's like a gung-ho personality to anyone who just goes for the most expensive bottle first.
Yeah.
A good sommelier should be able to listen to the person that they're about to sell the wine to, ask the questions that are needed to sell the appropriate wine that they want for that moment.
Yeah.
and there's no harm in someone saying what price point are you looking for?
And
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that should
Because
be
I do think
a
at the
definite
store
question.
sometimes when we say that to people, they can be like, oh,
They get nervous.
They
Yeah.
do, but I'm like, and I'll say, do you want $10 or do you want $30? Like, we got wine for both, you know, like.
Do you have $10 bottles of wine?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
But sommeliers should be a good sommelier should be able to ask in an appropriate way.
Yeah.
Not,
Yeah.
the other thing about sommelier too, I think that is overlooked is like how many people come in. They're like, my buddy who's in finance has decided he wants to be
Finance. Not
You know
finance.
this, but the Emory
Finance.
finance department told me that's how you say it, so forever will. My buddy's in finance, and he's decided that he. You're welcome.
Finances.
I'll never unhear
This
finance.
was a real conversation in the store.
I was like, it's finance.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
like,
no.
no, it's finance. I'm like, no, it's finance. And they're like,
pecan.
yeah, exactly.
I think it depends on where you're from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it now.
Yeah.
Anyways, finance. He's like, my buddy's in finance, and he's studying to be a sommelier. I'm like, no, he's not. Like, he's not going to work and sell wine. Like, that's what a sommelier does. Like, why isn't he taking accreditation that's just like learning instead of like going through the ropes of something that you're actually not allowed to achieve after a certain level anyways, you know?
What's a master sommelier? Like, what's the different?
That's the fourth level of the Court of Master Sommeliers level. So you get a different color pen and
Pen?
Well, that's worth
there's
it.
different color pens that come
You
with
also
that.
get a lot more money in your
Like
paycheck.
an actual pen. Like
Not like a writing pen.
No, not like. I wish.
like
I mean, I would use it.
that
I
might
would
be
use it
helpful.
more if it was a writing
Oh,
pen.
yeah.
But
So you
no,
have a pen?
I have a pen.
Oh.
I have an intro pen, which is like burgundy. Well, they could be different colors. Now.
Is it a wine bottle or what is the pen?
It
got a
has
face on
it
it.
has a face like the Bach. I think it's Bacchus.
Oh, interesting.
I think
No,
it's
it's
Bacchus.
not. It's a
The
guy.
god of debauchery.
I think it's
That's great.
No.
Bacchus
It's not
makes
Bacchus.
sense to
I
me.
don't
It's
know.
a guy. I found my pin recently underneath. I was like cleaning, and it was like underneath one of our shelves in the store.
You're like, oh, that's where I left
When
it.
are you supposed to wear this pen? Like when
You
are
wear
supposed
it to like special events.
if you're somming on the floor of a
If you're
restaurant,
somming on the floor of
people
a
wear them.
restaurant,
Oh.
it's kind of like the telltale sign, like, oh, this person does
So what should
know
we
what they're
look
talking
for?
about.
What-
It's like a small little pen. Mine is
Like a lapel
certified
pen.
Somm, so it's got a purple out rim. I think the master's I don't know what
Advance
color.
is green.
Advance is green. I'm not sure what the master Somm pen color is.
Is it red?
Could
How
just
many
be
master somms
red.
are in Atlanta?
Well, mine the intro is like burgundy.
The red's
red,
burgundy.
Yeah.
You're right.
So
How
In
many?
Atlanta's only one.
one.
Who, where?
Well, there was two. One that's not working and one that is working. His name's Michael McNeil.
Oh, I feel
Shout
like
out
we've
to
heard
Michael
that name.
McNeil.
Where's he work?
He works for Georgia
Crown.
Crown.
The
He's like
distributorship.
Okay.
head of their training.
He worked
and-
for Quality / as another
Winebow
distributor
for a
that
while.
moved to Winebow, and it's really hard. I mean, like was it 2 years ago? Not a single American passed.
Really?
Well, they had a big scandal too. So
Oh, that's true.
We'll talk about that.
Like another podcast.
That's another podcast. There was a small
Like a
small
cheating scandal?
scandal.
Oh.
Yeah.
Always.
It wasn't small.
Someone
It
stole
was-
the
It was
elections.
actually it was vast. It was
Yeah.
a vast scandal that.
How do you cheat when tasting wine?
Well, it
the
involves
people they're
it
judging.
involves a
Oh, I see.
single person that gives a little too much information to the people that he is helping to study
see.
for
Yeah.
said tests.
Okay,
So
okay.
once
Like they
one
know
person
that.
gets a hold of that, then everybody gets a hold of that.
Hmm.
And yeah, we there were a lot of people that had to retake their master Somm exam because of it, and most did not pass after that. But there was a big restructuring of that organization for many reasons. That was just, I guess that wasn't even the tip of the iceberg for them. But a lot of it had to do with sexism and racism and who can be of Somm and who
Oh,
cannot.
so they were giving
Wow.
information to certain people.
Well, no, in that case,
like some people haven't been invited to take the advanced test.
Oh, you have to be
I see.
invited.
you have to be invited
Oh.
to do a lot of things,
Wow.
and there's once you get to a level where you kind of have to rely on someone else to get there. You know how that is. It's like, oh, well, let's go talk at this restaurant and see what we can do about that, or. Oh no, we don't think it's your year, or there's just a lot of reasons why someone would not be invited to be able to have the same opportunities as other people, and
it's
that was,
completely subjective.
it was, yeah. I mean, it was a lot.
So there's no criteria to who gets invited. Like it's just
Is there no criteria? Is the question?
well.
Yeah.
Sorry, no published criteria to.
There
who gets
wasn't
invited.
any really. Honestly, it was a boys' club for a very very long time, and it was hard to get women into advanced positions, which is why you never saw any female master sommeliers
or people of color.
or people of color.
Yeah.
Or people who dress a little differently, or people who had purple hair,
Exactly.
or people who, didn't fit the mold of.
Who's in charge of this organization?
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, who has not been canceled
bunch of
already?
boys. Well, now it's
How do we cancel these
bunch of
people?
old white men.
Let's
No,
get into
they
it.
have been.
women,
They're
yeah.
slowly-
But
they
now
slowly are
they've restructured their board members, and they have people of color, and they have a lot of women. But you in this moment, you see the Wine and Spirits Education Trust kind of make their way into the forefront, because it was seen as this other secondary education system that is actually recognized worldwide. But it's really the people that we see online and that we know are these Court of Master Sommelier Somms that can smell this and be like, oh yeah, that's Chardonnay from Santa Rita. It's probably from a warm vintage. Like that's what you see, and that's the direction that they went in. But during all this, like, I mean, Meltdown, they kind of come to the forefront now.
When was the meltdown? Was this recent?
Probably 2020,
Yeah, it was-
19,
it was
2020.
2020.
All right, so it was during the
It was,
meltdown
you
of
know,
all
like,
things.
yeah,
Like, it was just
movement.
thrown into the meltdown
everybody
of
had
everything.
like their,
Okay.
their opinions, and it came out. They had the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are a lot of incidences, the cheating scandal, stories from women in the industry who had inappropriate, I guess not even relations, but interactions with other master somms, which was a big thing. And
Very
it
big thing.
came out into the light.
And like, as you guys, we all know this, and this is exactly what kind of trails that too, is just with the restaurant business as a whole. During that time, I mean, there were a lot of people who got, their due with with being sexist, and we've been in the restaurant business long enough to know you were still working the bit. There it is.
I've been
Yeah, in very compromising situations.
having worked in a lot of restaurants growing up, seen so many disturbing things where you're just like, you had to do what to get on the schedule? You had to do what, and like someone like me where I was just working in a restaurant in college and high school, like to just have extra money. Like
It also helps you be able to deal with all kinds of different people.
yeah,
and
it,
talk to
it helps you
different
be
kinds of
able to
people.
like calm when someone is really like heightened over something very trivial. It allows you to respond in a way that you're like empathetic, because you kind of have to like show people empathy for them to calm down. It is a lot of bullshit.
I think it's important skill to be able to, like, yes, talk people down, but also be able to talk to people in general who might not be the same kind of person you have in your walks of life all the time. Janeen's better at that than anybody else I know.
But I think that's why like VinoTeca is so unique. Well, first of all, obviously Atlanta, the culture of Atlanta, the diversity of Atlanta, like there's no arguing that it's the most diverse cultured city in America. It's special. And like we tell people that all the time.
I'm serious. I'm not harking back to my article that I want to be famous for one day. Just kidding. No, that's one of the things that I talked about. Me and the person I interviewed, who's the wine rep, we talked about how you go to different cities and you don't see the diversity that we see.
Not at all.
And if you do, it's in different parts of the city, right? But also, like, it's so weird that we don't think about that.
Yes.
And that you go to other cities and they're like, this is the restaurant where black people go eat, and this is the restaurant where white
It's
people
restaurants is how you
It's
tell.
so
that we
crazy.
talk about all the
Wow.
time. It's restaurants.
Yeah,
Have
because
you never thought about that before? Maybe not.
like you've never like we
I've been in
We
different
have
cities where
people,
it's
they'll come visit us
made a
from
difference.
other cities, and they'll come here and we'll go to restaurants. They'll be like so shocked by the diversity in the restaurant.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
Like,
we're like
wow.
what? Like
Yeah.
because
I actually noticed that in New York, weirdly.
Yes.
yes, okay, that's the number one place we notice.
There's a lot of places of status in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like here, it's like if it's good, it's good.
Yeah,
Everybody's gonna
and
go.
everyone
Yeah.
can enjoy it. But that's what's special about, like, really is special about VinoTeca, because I like to sit in VinoTeca and watch when
They know.
I like to watch people walk through the door, whether it's like young people or Buckhead people or Marietta people or people from Hateville or people from wherever. It doesn't matter. Like watching people walk through the door, almost everyone except for like regulars have a look of fear in their eyes when they first walk through the door.
Do you know how people walk in and say, I'm sorry? That's the first thing they say to us. I'm
See?
sorry.
See,
And then
people
you're
are scared, yeah.
What did you do?
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Did you knock a bottle over? Like what's
What
happening?
did you do?
But then immediately that goes away. Like as soon as there is not one person that works at VinoTeca that makes you feel that keeps that fear like in someone. So as soon as
Thank
like
you.
everyone that works there is very approachable, and it's like I see people's faces, their guard immediately goes down. They feel better, and they're like, and it's really impressive because we go to a lot like, well, not wine shops here, but all over like the U.S. and it's not like that at all.
That's a good compliment.
People
All
are
it
terrified.
takes is give me money and I'll give you wine.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's literally all we
like
say.
it's not a complicated
They're like, okay.
exchange.
It's not. What is this place? You're
What
like,
is
Yeah.
this place?
we sell wine.
Yeah, you can pick your own bottle out and
at
pay
that.
for it.
What do you need?
fine.
You need wine for now? You need wine for later? Tell
What do you
me.
wanna do?
What do you want to do?
Janine used to say this all the time, and I haven't said it in a long time, but it was one of my favorite lines. She'd be like, tell me the question that you want answered. Because people would be like, I don't know, what are we do? What are we, like, they're just, they're scared to ask what they're, because they don't want to look stupid. And there's some people that come in, they're like looking at their phone for whatever reason.
Like scanning.
Yeah, like, what am I doing? Or they'll like ask the person, like, what are we supposed to do? And I'll be like, hey, I got the answers. That's what I say now. Like, I got the answers. Just ask me. She doesn't know. You know, like I think, and I do think that's the fault of our phones, is that we all just expect that thing to tell us what to do now, instead of actually looking at other humans and asking the question.
Exactly. How many different labels are there in VinoTeca?
I don't know.
We did this math before, remember?
I know. Someone asked us more. I don't know right now. I think we have around 650 SKUs.
So 650 labels.
Unique labels, yeah.
Unique labels. You've tried them all.
Every single one.
Yeah.
Yes.
There might be
Maybe like a handful.
Katie's tried every single one.
There's always a handful that are special orders, or we don't see it too often. We just buy it and go. Like
We've had it in previous
the
vintages.
beachy wines or some burgundy stuff. But yeah, for the most part, we've tasted everything. That's just our MO now.
Or we know the producer.
We know the producer.
Yeah. But for the tastings that we do, every single one of those wines is vetted.
Mm-hmm. So favorite wine, go.
Today? Like
no,
what do you mean?
all time.
Like
if
favorite
you're
grape?
on an island and you could only be shipped a
good.
case of wine.
Oh, fuck.
Vigno Pétillant.
No.
No, you would.
The world ends, but you get to pick the wine that you get to
lasts
live with forever.
Forever.
Is it a specific wine?
Yes.
One wine.
One wine.
Unlimited cases for the rest of your life.
I gotta stick with it.
I'm
You
not
and-
surprised.
Yep. You and your family, and you're all alone for the rest.
What can
forever.
I never get tired of?
What does Leland want when she turns 21?
No, I mean I'm like there's a what do I never get tired of?
Well, Chenin Blanc would be my grape.
Mine would be
What's
Chardonnay.
your wine?
Chenin
though?
Blanc would be really close. That's why I'm like.
That's the thing. I can't pick.
But if
You have
that's why
to.
I can't pick a Chardonnay that I want to drink
You
for the
have
rest of
to.
my life. But I think honestly, you know what mine might be? I think
So
mine.
the world is ending.
The world's ending. I had to pick
And
one.
You're going
wine.
to survive. You are going to survive. We know this. But this weird thing happens where the aliens are like, "We're going to leave you here." But you
And
get
the
to
city
keep,
will continue to produce wine just for you.
No. We're going to give you all the
buy
wine.
this.
You get to pick one.
You know what I'm gonna say? And
What
this
is it?
This is gonna surprise you. I'm gonna say there is a Italian white that we sell a shitload of. It's the Suave, the Suave.
Suave?
And it's Suave.
Rico Suave?
Rico Suave.
Is it really Rico Suave?
No, it's called. It's the area of Italy. It's called Soave. Soave. And the
I can't wait.
I'm already changing my mind.
I can't wait for Nikki to enter Rico Suave.
I know,
here.
right?
Rico. Suave.
Because here's the thing: is that it's one of those wines that's just so likable, and it is so drinkable, and there's nothing wrong with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is. You're never gonna get tired of it. It's like citrusy and fresh and lovely.
All right, Janeen, you're up. The aliens have pointed to you like you're lucky you get to survive.
I'm thinking of other things.
We're giving you wine, but
We're
only
gonna
Think
give you
about
wine.
Seven Springs. Like, this is the hardest question.
We're going to
there-
reward you
there's-
for educating so many people on wine and being so nice and not making them feel stupid when they come in to ask for bad wine.
Blackberry wine.
Blackberry wine. So that reward is you get a label, and it's what you'll drink for the rest of your life.
My favorite wine in the store, I guess it would be all purpose. Like I have a favorite grape, which is Chenin Blanc, because you can make anything out of it, orange wine, sparkling, still. But there's one wine that in the store that I just absolutely love because it's made organically. It's 10% alcohol. It has bubbles, which I love. It's floral. It's inviting. It's called a Vino Pétillant. It's made by a sparkling producer in Spain. And when people ask me like, "Oh, what's your favorite thing in the store?" I'm like, "This is it, a Vino Pétillant." It's an all-purpose wine.
What's the label look like?
It's a tall green bottle with a black screw cap, and it's a black and white label. I think there's some birds.
There's fish on it.
There's
I think
fish.
birds?
Had
No,
that.
fish.
I
There's
think
fish.
I think we've had this.
Yeah,
I think you've
And
had
it's
Anybody-
like fizzy, yeah.
Like it literally has
It's
Janine's
outside.
pick.
You guys
Yeah.
can drink it on your porch. I know for a fact.
Yeah, I know we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it makes people happy. It's inviting, and I like to suggest it to people. I just like it's that's it.
Has anyone ever proposed at
I
VinoTeca?
was going to ask
Yeah.
that.
Oh
Really?
my gosh, yes.
Oh, we've never seen
We came
it.
up with this last
We were
night.
like, wait, has anyone ever?
Nikki was
This is a
like, I
great.
doubt
This
it.
is a
We
great
had
place to
someone propose
propose.
one time. We never knew they even did it. They did it in the wine room. And we're like,
Yeah.
have you guys ever been here before?
Did you tell us? Like, no.
Yeah, no, they just went and did it.
In the
Wow.
in the cold one room?
Yeah.
Wow.
Without us
cold
even
back
knowing
there.
that happened.
We've been a
Remember the
part of
guy who
one.
we hid his wine in there one time, or his ring in there, and then he went and got it.
Really?
We had Caitlin and Maddie who used to live upstairs from us. They got engaged, like in the back corner. Yeah.
It's a great place to get
Had
engaged.
engagements outside. Yeah.
Yeah,
We've
had
had
a
a whole
couple
wedding in
engagements.
our
We've had a
store.
wedding.
Really?
Wow.
A wedding. I guess it is a really good venue for a wedding.
Damn. What are your favorite wine shops
Around here?
or anywhere?
Anywhere in the world.
Ooh.
Like, where do the listeners
That's a great
go?
question. You've been to more places than me.
I mean, yeah,
I
I
think
like
we
to-
have one in common, which is in Michigan.
Yeah. In Detroit,
Michigan.
Yeah.
Detroit. Yeah, it's the Royce.
Huh.
Yeah.
It would be, and I love Grafton in Charleston.
Graft's
Katie, stop.
fantastic. Wine therapy in New
Yeah,
York.
in New York.
Oh, we need to
And
go
I
there.
like Chamber
Wine
Street
therapy.
too a lot.
Chamber Street Wines.
Oh,
is
we've been there.
fantastic. Yeah.
We've been to Chamber Street Wines.
Wine therapy
I've been
in
to
Soho.
Henry's as well. I've been inside of
Yeah,
Henry's. They
Henry's,
have
I've been
great
there
wine.
too.
We have a recommendation for you
Len Yap.
in Miami.
It's in Miami.
Miami. Oh, I'm going to Miami this summer.
Oh,
Or,
okay.
in
You have
October.
to go here.
Okay.
Now, whether or not their wine selection is honestly that good is not the point.
I think it's probably good.
I don't really know. Anyways,
Yeah.
so from 9 p.m. on, it's live music. Same idea as y'all, but a lot later.
On steroids.
And when you walk in, well, the place is not as like put together. Like when you, it's more. I would say it's more like Lower East Side meets VinoTeca.
Okay.
If you're picking up that vibe, which is a really cool vibe. It definitely doesn't feel Miami.
Like they picked up
It's-
all their furniture off of the corner.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
honestly, if we ever
there's-
have another VinoTeca, we're gonna pick all our friends.
there's no one chair that looks the same,
I love that.
and it's in Edgewater,
Edgewater.
which is like Midtown meets Wynwood, but on the ocean side, like on the ocean side of the train tracks. Anyways, there's it. It's very unassuming. Like when you were to, if you saw it during the day, you'd be like, why would I ever go there? But we walked in, and it was like hundreds of people. And the bands, well, they have a different band every single night. It's actually incredible how but the one band that we were, it was like a jazz, the only way I could describe it is like jazz bohemian kind of like jazz, but with like bongos included
Girl
as well.
of Ipanema kind of.
It
vibes.
was so good. This place was amazing. It is our favorite place in Miami, and it's
called what again?
Lanyap.
it's Langiappe.
Lanyap.
Lanyap.
Special gift.
Yeah.
You're a special
What?
gift.
Wait, is that what it means?
A lanyap is a special gift.
Interesting.
It's a small like token of thanks for being here.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
Yeah. Oh, that makes
I
sense.
worked
makes a lot
for
more
Ted's
sense.
Montana Grill, and we would give people lanyaps of
Pickles.
Really?
pickles or any dish. Honestly, any dish that we had. Like
Yeah.
most of the time, it was like the pot roast,
Yeah.
which was
Oh,
a big
okay.
thing. And I'd be like, "Hey, can I get a lanyap of pot roast?" And so it'd be like
Really?
a small thing of pot roast with a little bit of mashed potato and green bean. That's what it is.
That's amazing.
So
okay.
you have a preview of what's to come. It's like us giving a small preview of wine tasting. Yeah,
Okay, so you have to go there. I'll text it to you.
What a great word.
it's a
That
great
is an
word.
amazing
Yeah.
word. I really love that.
Yeah.
Legitimately, if we could open bottles of wine and serve them to people, we would be much richer. But there's a couple things that go along with that, though. Is one, it's illegal. Two, we never want to be someone's last place. We want to be their first place, right? And listen, it happens all the time where someone walks in, we're like, that person's probably had too much.
Yeah.
And we're serving them
Oh,
a glass
yeah,
of wine.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
We've
But-
seen
Inman,
that
Inman
too.
Park
Yeah.
Festival weekend.
Oh goodness.
oh, goodness.
There's some busted front teeth waiting to happen on that weekend.
Okay. Sorry.
No, don't even talk about that. Hashtag too soon. That story fucks me up.
It's really messed up.
But there is, we want to make sure people walk in there and they're maintaining their civility, right? And I think sometimes when you don't have food or food service, you run into a risk of two people coming in and having a bottle of wine and then being like, oh, let's just have another one. And the next thing you know, they're riding a scooter and busting their face off,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's a hairy situation. Like we do let people, I mean, we don't let people go outside. We tell people once you go outside, you're on your own. I mean, everyone outside had bottles of wine today.
Yeah.
But it very rarely gets to the point where we're like concerned about the people that are sitting out there.
One time, I think we told you about this, but there was two women sitting outside at like the furthest table away, basically in front of Bill Hallman.
Okay.
And this was a couple years ago. And they were like having a good time, having wine, whatever. The one girl goes to the bathroom,
I remember the story.
The other girl is still there.
Yeah.
She puts her head down on the table.
No, this was this year.
Was
Like,
it-
was
no,
like
it was last
23,
summer. It was
like
23.
last summer.
It was last summer.
Puts her head down on the table and
Yeah.
falls asleep, or is not conscious in some way.
She went night-night.
Then the girl from the bathroom walks right past her and just keeps going.
You weren't there.
Yeah, you weren't there.
You weren't there. I feel like you were out of town. Maybe it was when we got married one of the times.
I was
But,
just
like-
like, stop right now.
I am telling you, it happened.
And I felt like they were on a
and
date.
It was a date.
It was
yes. Totally a date.
They
And
were
I-
on a date
yes,
and she left
yes,
her
because they
passed
were-
out on a
Yes.
outside table.
And the weird thing is it seemed like they were
Wow.
having a good time. So I was just like, but what I think happened is I truly think the girl in the bathroom was so drunk too.
Yeah.
She didn't even realize that
She
she,
was
like
just like
walked
stumbling.
because she was
Yeah.
stumbling. I don't even think she realized she left her.
And
like,
the
it
girl
was
at the table
crazy.
got up and was like,
she was
"Where's
like-
my friend?"
Yeah, yeah. She was like,
everyone's
"Where?"
like,
she left, girl.
It was like, oh my gosh, stop. I think that was
Wow.
probably one of the
Yeah.
the
I mean, those
most
things
drunk
happen
type
so
situation.
so rarely. Because again,
Yeah, no, it is
we
very
like to
rare.
be. But I feel like if that world enters into our ability, we've got to figure out a way to get people food
Have you ever thought about having a second location?
all the time.
All the time.
Where would it be?
And what keeps you from doing it?
Probably money.
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah,
It's a big investment.
it's a big investment. Money and money.
Any investors out there listening?
Hello. I mean, we have a lot of great ideas. Because we do the dive wine bar thing, and I think it wouldn't be a second location. That would just be a VinoTeca. I think our ideal second location would be a small VinoTeca that was attached to a restaurant. In Georgia, you have to legally have a separate space and a separation of that, and we would have a wine bar that would have a small VinoTeca attached to it, and it would be you could buy a bottle of wine, sit outside, order some food from next door, hang out outside. Again, those things have to be separate. Or have a corkage fee that you can go into the restaurant then, but have a wine bar with a kick-ass wine list that is like things that don't normally get pulled by the glass. And have a menu of charcuterie and fries and small sandwiches or panini press kind of things. And just really basic, simple, noshy kind of foods, which every fucking city in this country has.
Except
that
us.
We don't have.
Exactly.
We
And
talked about it all the time.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that like, but where? My ideal spot is like Oakhurst.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oakhurst would be good.
Kirkwood doesn't need another wine store, but like Eastlake on that side where there's nothing, like the Memorial Drive side.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I lived there for 13 years, and I would never believe that those words would come out of my mouth. But you know that kind
changed
of
a lot.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
changed
yeah.
a lot. Decatur, honestly, Avondale, there's a wine store there.
Avondale,
There's
yeah.
stuff that's happening, but like as far as a wine bar goes, though, it has to be like Inman Park. And then, again, like if we could open something like this place you were talking about in Miami, or there's that place Bacchanal in New Orleans that everybody talks about. When are you going to be like that? I'm like, well, I wish we could.
Yeah.
like that would be a reason to
Bacchanal.
drive someone to the neighborhood.
Bacchanal, New Orleans.
Yeah.
Go check that out.
We can put that on the list.
We will, of course.
A lot of fun. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, this-
Especially
this-
for
this
a
is actually
Sunday
a lot of
night.
fun.
Yeah, thank
thanks
you.
for doing this.
Yeah.
Of course.
Especially after a very busy weekend because Friday was insane. I drove by.